There we go. All right. So, a lot of interesting news today. Since I was gone for the weekend, I figured it'd be nice to give some summary news too, kind of where we are. So, but let me start with the main bit of news. The Ukrainians say the grain exports are to begin on July 27th. You might recall that the Ukrainians, the Russians, the Turks, and the United Nations got together, signed an agreement to export the grain that has been stopped up in Ukraine because the Russians won't let it go out without blowing it up, basically threatening starvation in North Africa, threatening starvation in the Middle East. They reached this agreement literally the next day. Thank you, Crusher, for that. Those are fun, actually, by the way, because there's always a different postcard that pops up. I now realize we learned that a ways into it. The literally a day after the Russians signed the agreement, and the agreement said, among other things, they can't, blow up the port that the grain is coming out of. The Russians attacked the port. They shot missiles at the port of Odessa, where the grain was coming out of. And at first, of course, the Russians tried to deny it, and they said, "Oh no, we didn't shoot the port." And you're kind of going, "Oh sure, who else lobbed missiles at the port of Odessa, right?" So of course, the next day, the Russians came out and admitted that they did it, and then claimed, "Oh, but it had no impact on the grain exports." And it's like, you literally blew up the port, guys. But in any case, nonetheless, the Ukrainians are sticking by the deal. In large, well, a couple of reasons actually. One, it's important to the Ukrainians because they need the money to get the grain sold, and they get the hard currency. Two, it's important for the Ukrainians to show that they, okay, Mustard, I warned you, one of the mods is not going to recognize you're joking and you're going to get in trouble. Colonel Mustard over on TikTok just put you loosing, Loosing, you loosing, as a comment, and I just warned him, if there's a new moderator not recognizing, he's going to be in trouble. Just warning you, impersonating a Russian, it's got to be a crime. So the other reason the Ukrainians are really holding to the agreement is they want the Russians to be responsible. Thank you, Grandma. They want, developing countries, Africa, Middle East, to know that if they run out of food, it's because the Russians screwed it up yet again. So good on the Ukrainians. The overall, so this has been interesting. I was reading a bunch of it's funny. I was reading because I'm a geek. Even though I knew I wasn't doing the updates, I was still reading about Ukraine all weekend. And what was really interesting to me was some of the analysis basically saying over the last several weeks, the Russians, as you know, have been focusing on eastern Ukraine, and the Ukrainians have been focusing on the south. So meaning, getting out the handy dandy t-shirt map, the Russians keep focusing on Donbass, which is out here, right? And remember, the one province here in the east, easternmost Luhansk, they control pretty much 100% of it. More, actually, it's almost like 98%. Remember, there were like two little villages the Russians still couldn't get. So most of it, Donetsk, which is the other province here, they control, I don't even know where it is now. Maybe it's 50 to, it was at 50, maybe it's 50 to 70%, something like that. And what the Ukrainians have been doing in the meantime, they have been focusing on this area. So while the Russians have been trying to get more land here, the Ukrainians have been trying to get their land back here. This is the Kherson region, big town, I'm going to guess capital town of the region called Kherson, big surprise. And the Russians control pretty much a swath like this. Okay, it's 20% of Ukraine, like this, more or less. And the Ukrainians are first going after getting this part back. The Ukrainians have gotten back 15%, 15% of their land in that area by fighting back now. The Russians have made almost no advances in the east, where they've been fighting in the last several weeks. That's the first observation, which is why, and again, I did sort of two long videos today. One of them, I made clear that I am not claiming Ukraine is winning the war. I am not claiming Ukraine is going to win the war. What I am claiming is there's a lot of good indices for the Ukrainians, a lot of good data points, and a lot of bad data points for the Russians. as time goes on. And that's very interesting. Okay. And it keeps being proven out. We keep hearing about this and then it's proven. So let me give you sort of more of the details. Okay. So oh yeah, I was going to tell you. So what the Ukrainians have been doing, we had talked a few weeks ago about the Ukrainians possibly having a counteroffensive. Well, I don't mind somebody giving a lot of Canadian flags. It's okay. Well, you banned them? Don't ban them for putting Canadian flags. So, just maybe, sorry, we were having a little issue with a Canadian going a little, an over exuberant Canadian, which I think is a rare occurrence, I would say. Usually that's not quite the the Canadian problem. We had a Canadian posting like 10 Canadian flags in like comment after comment after comment. It was very American of you. I hate to be rude, but in any case, so what the Ukrainians have been doing in the meantime, while the Russians have not been doing much in the East, they've been trying in the East and not succeeding. First, the Ukrainians went after the ammunition depots. Remember how we talked about how this HIMARS rocket system that the current ammunition we've provided can go around 43 miles, maybe up to 50 or 60 miles if they're lucky. Well, the Ukrainians have been using the HIMARS system. They say they've destroyed now 50 Russian ammunition depots. We know it's a lot. I mean, they've been witnessed, the explosions have been witnessed. And we also know that the pace of the Russian artillery barrages have decreased over the last several weeks. And they were supposed to increase. Because remember, about a week ago, well, it has been about a week ago because I was gone for 3 days. Remember how the Russian defense minister was visiting, one of the occupied territories, and he said, the strategic pause is over, and now I want you to go after those HIMARS systems. And we joked about it because I was like, now you're thinking of going after the HIMARS? Like, really? Like, what have you been doing, right? Even after he went there and told them, okay, I want, the break is over, let's go whole hog, there was no increase in artillery barrage coming from the Russians. And artillery, remember, is the number one thing the Russians do. They've got a ton of artillery and they just blow the crap out of cities. They don't care about civilians. They just blow the crap out of everybody. Well, the Ukrainians first blew up a ton of Russian artillery, which means the Russians have less artillery. It also meant, remember, the Russians had to move their artillery further back. So in other words, for example, let's pretend the Ukrainian line is here and they're able to hit artillery all the way back here. Well, now the Russians have had to move the artillery all the way back here. Not the artillery, the ammunition, so that the Ukrainians can't get it. Well, because it's way further back, it now takes them a lot longer to get the ammunition to the front. They need twice as many vehicles to get it to the front. Each vehicle carries a lot less than they had in the huge ammunition storage. So now it's become a logistical nightmare for the Russians to keep their artillery going. And as we know from the beginning of the war, the Russians suck at logistics. So the NASA satellite images, because actually the experts look at the NASA satellite images to look for, the warm spots, the explosions going on, in order to tell the intensity of the fighting and where it is. And in fact, the fighting has not picked up. This attack on the Russian ammunition, the artillery ammunition, has actually hurt the Russians. That's the first thing. Well, then the Ukrainians shifted. Now, they're still going after artillery, but then they shifted and started going after command and control. And command and control is basically the commanders. So, the local headquarters, which have, mind you, like we said, the local commanders, the local officers, the local guys who are actually running the war. And they started blowing those things up with the same HIMARS systems, right? And keep in mind that the way the Russian military works, unlike ours, and we had, sorry, Harvey, I know you've got your sort of a question you threw in there, but this is sort of a long segment, this one. We know that the way the Russian military works, in contrast to ours, for example, but I think probably any of us in the West, they're super top down, where the lower guys don't know what to do unless the top guys tell them what to do. So by blowing up these command centers, it really screws the local Russians they don't know what to do, basically. Well, the third thing the Ukrainians just did in the last couple of days, they damaged 3 key bridges, which actually we talked about these two, but they hadn't damaged them all yet. Let me move this out of the way. so I can show you. They damaged 3 key bridges along here. Here is Kherson, the town I was telling you about that they're fighting over. The Russians currently occupy it. The river goes up here. I believe it's the Dnieper in English or something like that. Dnipro in Russian, river. Russian, in Ukrainian, excuse me. Russian, Ukrainian, not Russian. Ukrainian river. And they blew up. The Ukrainians did 3 key bridges along this river. They are the 3 key bridges you need to go back and forth to both sides. Well, guess who's on both sides of the bridges? The Russians. So what the Ukrainians did is they haven't totally trapped the Russian troops, but by damaging the bridges, they didn't collapse the bridges. Apparently, I think some of you were maybe even saying last time too, the HIMARS doesn't look like it's strong enough to take out the bridges, but they've had like one picture showed 6 explosions in a row on a bridge. So like the targeting was amazing on these bridges. I mean, 6 in a row blowing up. What's happening, the experts are saying, thank you, Kanowski, is that the Russians are repairing the bridges, but it's a bridge. It's not a highway. And what the Russians are doing, for example, there was a picture of them coming in and, they put new support beams and stuff. Thank you, Grandma. They put new support beams and then they put cement over the hole. And the military experts are saying this, like, you can't do that to a bridge. You don't just put cement over a hole and hope it holds when a tank comes over and vibrates the hell out of the bridge. Basically, the experts think if the Russians do anything other than walk across these bridges, the bridges are going to collapse under them so that the Russian troops can get back and forth. Cars can get back and forth, but Russian equipment cannot get back and forth. And it means that these troops on both sides are basically stuck in terms of getting supplies. They can't get supplies back and forth. It's really good news. The Ukrainians have been setting this up really nicely. And the final point I think I'll make with this, sorry, it's a lot of stuff, but there was this I thought was, it's really interesting because I think it's sort of the big picture stuff that matters, that frankly, to some degree, I'm more interested in, how it's all going. I forgot who, but there somebody big, who was it? Somebody big recently, either UK or American, I'm forgetting who, and basically said that, yeah, the Russians are looking at a pause that they're not going to have a choice but to have in August, that basically the Russians are going to have to pause. And they're not going to have a choice. Oh, thank you, Flower Lady. That looks new. I don't recall that one. That was pretty. Because of the number of deaths. Oh, hello, Irie, or Ire, or whatever, from Ukraine. Good to see you. I like to try to say hi to the Ukrainians when we see them. So, they're the special guests. That the Russians are going to have a pause in August anyway. That again, the troops have been so hurt, so worn down, so tired, the loss of weapons. And what's going to be interesting, even though the Ukrainians are tired too, and Harvey, I'm getting to your question right now at this point, is when the Russians have to pause in August, will the Ukrainians have enough gusto, so to speak, thank you, Louis, to then go on the counteroffensive big time when the Russians are trying to regroup? And that's what's going to be interesting. But everything they're doing in Kherson. Oh, final point. This was really good too. Hold on. So the final thing I read, Phillips O'Brien, one of the big defense experts at one of the universities, I think he may be in Scotland or somewhere. I think he's British. But he was saying that all the talk, Arifa, good to see you again. All the talk of the Ukrainians having a counteroffensive. Remember when the Ukrainians a couple of weeks ago warned their people to get out of Kherson, the region, and they said, get out, we're coming, we're going to be bombing. Phillips was saying, what if it was a bluff? What if there wasn't going to be a massive counter offensive? What if it wasn't going to be moving tens of thousands of troops, line by line, fighting, blah, 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 planes coming in? What if it was simply going to be this, where they're just strategically blowing them up? And his point was the Ukrainians used the threat of a counteroffensive to make the Russians move more troops in and more artillery shells so they could blow them up, which I thought was very interesting. So anyway, there we go. All right, Javi, Sorry for delaying on your question, but as I said, it was kind of a roll of a commentary there. Thoughts on Liz Truss, who Harvey isn't telling you, or you are saying he slips it in later, is the British Foreign Secretary. So, like the Secretary of State. Thank you, Jesse, for the hat. Thoughts on Liz Truss, front runner to replace Boris Johnson. Thank you, Marcy. Stating she would give Johnson the position of Foreign Secretary. Oh, how interesting. So he would continue having direct control over British policy in Ukraine. Oh, wow. I mean, okay, I've got two responses to that. One, the, Ukrainian lover in me loves it. I doubt British policy would change much, Thank you, Wayne, for the hat. Would change much in that regard, right? But I kind of love it. The only thing is, I would worry, this is my political brain. I would worry that if you had a leader who had to step down because there were too many scandals, would you want to give him such a high profile position again? Because wouldn't that risk the same problem ongoing? Potentially. So that's the only negative. That's the only negative I would see. So, there we go. Inspired woman. I know that was you. Thank you for the cars. So it would depend sort of. Now, having said that, the Conservative Party wanted him to step down, and he did step down, right? So maybe to some degree too, they're looking at it as, we got Boris to step down. Wouldn't this be a nice, I don't know, like, is this the kind of thing that the political party would do where they'd say, look, we got him to step down. Now let's give him a good job. That's a great job for him. It lets him save face. It lets him excel where he excels, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Is that, somebody who knows British politics better, Harvey, for example. Let me see what people are weighing in and saying here. Harvey saying the other candidate, Rishi Sunak, has said the same. There's been a shift in the Conservative Party. They seem to be regretting their decision to get him to leave. Oh, that's funny. Already? Chris says it's been done before in the UK. The British people don't have an issue with his foreign policy, just his personal behavior. Interesting. So, is that the kind of thing then the British people or the party wouldn't have a problem with? They wouldn't feel like, look, we wanted this guy to go away and now the guy's not going away, Or rather, like I said, oh, this is a nice way to save face. See, now someone else, Mark Body, is saying he stepped down because he broke the law. That would be the kind of thing, that you wouldn't want to necessarily let him save face, Harvey, 100,000 party members have signed a petition to get him to stay now. What, you mean to get him to stay as prime minister? Sorry, guys. I can't help it if I'm glitching, if I am glitching. Although the moderators are getting rid of you, which makes me think I'm not glitching. Thank you, moderators. A lot of Ukrainians, someone's asking how many Ukrainians speak English. I don't know how many. I do know that a lot of younger Ukrainians speak English because there is a super high-tech, I don't know what you want to call expertise among young Ukrainians doing high-tech consulting and things like that. Yeah, nothing I could do about it, guys. As always, it claims my internet connection's good. So all I can guess is it's a TikTok thing, probably. It shouldn't be my internet. And according to it, like when you're, sorry, real quick, because apparently, actually, now whoever banned the person who said I was glitching, we may want to unban that person on TikTok because apparently they weren't lying. So maybe unban that person if you would, please. All right. All right. In any case, sorry, let's see what their last comments on Boris here, on Bojo. Thank you, Louis, for the hat. Let me see a couple of this here. Impossible in France, probable in England, Eric. In the US, I think it would be weird if somebody had to sort of, even though we don't have the same system, but if somebody had to resign, you wouldn't like give him another high profile job if he had to resign because of a scandal. That would be really weird. You would resign and kind of go into the wood. Unless it was like Donald Trump's administration, then he wouldn't resign. Quite literally, Trump would be like in your face, but generally speaking, you'd have to resign. You're kidding. Sorry, but Jingle Bells is saying there's a vodka pipeline going through Ukraine. Come on. You're kidding me. Sorry, Lori Keane. He wasn't popular as prime minister, but I really want him to stay. Special envoy to Ukraine. That's really interesting. That's interesting. Boris is hinting very strongly that he's planning to come back at some point. Every time he talks about what his government has achieved, he always adds, for now. That's funny. Well, I mean, very interesting. Do you believe Russian soldiers are better trained than NATO troops? Oh, you're asking Nate. Okay, yeah. Different political systems. You have a president. You vote for your president. We don't vote for a person, but a political party. Yep. Oh, yeah. No, obviously, very different here. Joseph, that's okay. Sorry, but I watched tonight's debate. Liz said Boris is past now when asked about Boris in her cabinet. Oh, also, we have a defense secretary for policy on Ukraine. Possible, but most likely a fantasy. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Yes, illegal vodka. This is great. Our vodka expert, Ryan Boy, is weighing in along with Jingle Bells. Illegal vodka pipeline to Moldova, though apparently it's an old video. Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. They found a 300-meter, which would be 900 feet, 1,000 feet. That's 20% of a mile, a block. No, not a block, 2 blocks maybe. They found a 300-meter vodka pipeline underground going over the border to Moldova. It's a leftover from the Soviet times. Oh, that's hilarious. I love that. I love that. A LinkedIn user says special envoy to Ukraine would be perfect. He is good. I mean, it'd be nice. It's funny. As much as Boris drives me crazy, you know, I can see that kind of thing. I have not been to Ukraine. I'm dying to go to Ukraine now. I mean, maybe not now, but soon, you know. All right, let's get rolling. There's a lot more news I've got in here, guys. Although, as I've said, I like us when we have these discussions, so I'm not really beholden to all the news. Let me just see a little more news here. Just looking for things here. Yeah. Oh, okay. It's 15%. Okay, right. It's 15% of Kherson that's been liberated. As I said, the bridges were destroyed. Oh, this is interesting. So just a little more news here. Okay. Adding to the aspect of, in fact, sorry, I got all of you guys speaking about Bojo now, and now I'm moving on. That's okay. You can keep talking about Boris, but I'm going to move on with the rest of this. So related to what we've been discussing, the Institute for the Study of War, think tank I like to cite. They're very interesting. They're here in D.C., very well respected on defense matters. ISW says that there is alarm in the Russian nationalist information space over the pace of Russian operations. Now, when they say when they say that, they mean the Russian military bloggers that are online blogging about the war, and they're pretty much far-right nationalists who appeal to Putin's base, is what they mean. That's cute. So listen to this. Alarm in Russian nationalist information space, so social media, continues to grow as the pace of Russian operations slows in the face of successful Ukrainian HIMARS strikes on key Russian logistics and command and control nodes. That was a horrifically written sentence that only a defense expert could write, but you get the idea. Moscow calling a medium-sized Russian Telegram channel. Telegram is a social media channel the Russians and the Ukrainians really like, with 31,000 subscribers, posted an appraisal of the entirety of Russian operations in Ukraine since February 24th. Moscow calling notably defined the arrival of the HIMARS, which are these missile system that the Ukrainians have been using to blow up the artillery, among other things, the artillery depots, as a distinct turning point in the war, and stated that previously provided Western weapon systems such as NLAWs, Javelins, Stingers, and Bayraktars did very little against Russian artillery bombardment. They are not designed or intended to counter artillery attack, but that HIMARS changed everything for Russian capabilities in Ukraine. Moscow calling strongly, and I'm reading you this because it's the Russian war experts themselves who have a direct line to Putin's base. Putin's base, the far-right Russian nationalists, are the ones who read these guys. So that's what makes it so interesting. Moscow calling strongly insinuated that recent Ukrainian strikes on Russian warehouses, communication hubs, and rear bases are having a devastating and potentially irreversible impact on the development of future Russian offensives. This post is consistent with previous reports from Western defense officials that Russian troops are being forced to engage in various HIMARS mitigation tactics on the battlefield, including camouflage measures and constantly changing the location of equipment groupings. These tactics are impeding Russian forces from conducting the massive artillery barrages that they have widely employed over the course of the war, as evidenced by NASA's fire information resource management data, which I was telling you, the NASA data that is used for looking at wildfires and things, but they also can look at military firepower going off because it shows up on the radar. So there you go. So they're freaking out, and it looks like, too soon to count our chickens, but looks like the HIMARS and the Ukrainians, such adept use of it could be screwing the Russians very badly. So that's good. I'm going to skip Lavrov because who cares about him? Oh, this was interesting news. So the Russian state energy giant Gazprom, remember Gazprom, the Russian natural gas pipeline coming across Nord Stream 1. First, the Russians cut it back to like 80%. Most of the gas is going to natural gas. Most of it's going to Germany. A good deal is going to France, and then the rest of Europe. But the big two buyers are Germany and France, with Germany being the big gorilla. I mean, the big buyer is Germany, okay? First, the Russians cut it back to 80% of capacity. So they cut out 20%. They stopped sending 20% of the gas. Then they cut it, or was it 80 or 60? I think it was, or maybe it was 60 they cut it to. Then they cut it to 40%. Only 40% of the gas went through. Then they cut it to 0 for a week and a half. And remember this whole discussion of the Russians claimed, oh, it was a regularly scheduled maintenance period. And I think maybe there was maintenance that had to be done at some point, but I think the Russians absolutely brought it up now to try to basically pressure the Germans. Well, now they've turned it back on. They've only turned it back on to 20%. They're only letting 20% of the gas go through. They're claiming it's because of that stupid turbine. Remember the turbine that the Canadians were fixing? But because of the sanctions, the Canadians couldn't return it to the Russians, and the Germans and the Americans got together and, forced the Canadians to basically give the turbine back to the Germans, who would give it back to the Russians. Well, guess what I read today? The Wall Street Journal had earlier reported that the Russians already had a backup of all of their turbines. They didn't need the turbine. The big surprise, the pipeline worked just fine. Well, now the Russians have turned the pipeline back on, and they're only putting 20% of the natural gas going through. What impact that has is it makes it even harder for Germany, France, and the rest of Europe, but Germany and France in particular, to build up a stockpile of natural gas before the winter. I believe I read that Germany's normal stockpile is like 65%, or no, their stockpile is 65% full, and they want to get it to like 80 or 85% full, but that's going to take a lot of work. Or their goal is 65 normally, and they're going to get it to 80, 85. Either way, they've got to go up another 15, 20% more than normal. And with the Russians cutting them back to this little amount of natural gas, it's going to be a lot harder to do it. They're playing them. They're playing them. I mean, I've said this from the beginning. I think, I even, to be nice, since I've been gone for several days, I didn't even bring up the 2 stories about Germany playing games again with the stuff they were sending. Not even bringing them up. But the Germans have, Scholz, the German chancellor, the German leader, has presented a two-faced kind of proposition vis-a-vis Ukraine. And he looks like he really, 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 really doesn't want to help Ukraine because he's afraid it's going to ruin relations with Russia, and relations with Russia are more important. That's my take. And therefore, the Russians are playing him, and the Russians are cutting off gas to Germany, and the Russians are now doing everything they can to punish Germany, to make Germany break. And the reason they're doing it is because I think Scholz already showed that he was ambivalent, whatever word you want to use. It's not good. It's not good. So let's see. But this is, I mean, this stuff is, and I will say this: the French had called it. Remember, before this whole thing, before the whole maintenance started, the French, I forget who minister, probably energy minister or somebody in France, warned and said, Russia's going to cut off the gas. We just have to prepare that they're going to cut everything off. And literally days later, they cut off the gas for the maintenance, and now they're back to 20%. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you are the weakest link. Exactly. What else you got here? Oh, okay. Good German news. See, so I excluded the bad German news. I was trying to be nice for today, but the good German news, Germany has already started sending Gepard self-propelled guns. The Gepards, I believe they're artillery guns, we said, right? Or no, anti-aircraft guns, excuse me. Anti-aircraft guns. 3 German self-propelled anti-aircraft Gepard guns have arrived in Ukraine, Defense Minister Reznikov said on July 25th. Earlier in June, okay, this is the part of the story that made me laugh. So we're like, yay, 3 German anti-aircraft guns have arrived as promised. Yay, good Germany. Earlier in June, Germany promised to send Ukraine 30 Gepards. Ukraine is currently expecting to receive 15. I'm hoping that's a bad translation. And what it means is Germany promised 30 and 15 are already on the way. I'm hoping that's what that means. It just sounded funny, like Germany promised 30 and they're getting 15. But again, I'm not going to knock them on this one because it very simply could be kind of a funny way of writing it, because I think this part came, thank you, Marianne. This part I think came from the Ukrainians. So they were writing it in English, but they might have missed a little bit of the nuance there. Poland has sent sending. Oh, Poland has sent PT-91 Twardy tanks. I do not know these tanks. If any of our military folks know, are these any good? These tanks, PT-91 Twardy, Twardy, Twardy tanks. Zelensky's chief of staff said on July 25th that the Polish tanks have already arrived in Ukraine, but did not specify the number. Human Rights Watch says that Russia has been torturing, abducting citizens in the occupied areas of Kherson and Zaporizhia. Kherson, I've told you guys about before. Over here, Zaporizhia province is over here, okay, more or less. These are the 2 big provinces until you get to Donbass, which is that big fighting in the east. So the Human Rights Watch's report published on July 22nd said that Russian forces have, quote, tortured, unlawfully detained, and my favorite, listen to this, forcibly disappeared civilians. We all know what that means. When you forcibly disappear civilians, it means you've killed them. In the occupied settlements of Ukraine's southern Kherson and Zaporizhia, as well as tortured prisoners of war there. This was interesting, actually. There's been a lot of shakeups going on in Ukraine. A lot of it was previously, people going to the Twardys, are a version of the T-72s. Okay, so they're a decent tank then, right? That's considered, sorry, you guys waited on the tank thing. That's a decent tank then if they're a sort of a version of the T-72 then. That's good. That's good. They are T-72 upgraded since 1991 to NATO standards. Even better, Raymond is saying. Good. Good. Let me see here real quick. Okay, good. Well, that's good to know then. Good. Thanks, guys. That's helpful. So some of the previous firings, Zelensky had let a number of people go, number of different reasons, but there was the fact that they found we're not doing the recap yet because I'm still giving you the news. We've been chatting so much about the various topics that it took a while to even get through the news. So you didn't miss the recap. That's coming in a bit. Zelensky was getting rid of a number of several of the senior people because of the infiltration of the Russians in their intelligence, Russian intelligence infiltrating Ukrainian intelligence, and basically holding responsible some of the senior guys for not catching it earlier, right? Well, this is something different. Zelensky is going after people that reached the deal with Russia in the earlier administration, the corrupt administration, Yanukovych. Remember the Ukrainian leader who got overthrown in the uprising, right? The people's uprising, the democratic uprising. And his office, his ministers signed an agreement to let the Russians use the base at Sevastopol in Crimea for, I think, 25 years. Sevastopol is down here. Crimea is the territory the Russians stole from Ukraine in 2014. And this would be back like 2010 or so that he gave them the rights here for 25 years or whatever to operate out of Sevastopol. So Zelensky has now been going after those guys. And listen to this. Former Foreign Minister Konstantin Hryshenko and former Justice Minister Alexander Lavrinovich, who served under fugitive ex-president Viktor Yanukovych, were charged in absentia for their involvement in the so-called Kharkiv Accords. Yanukovych and then Russian President Medvedev signed the Kharkiv Accords in 2010 to extend the stay of the Russian Black Sea Fleet in Sevastopol for 25 years in exchange for a price discount on Russian gas. Zelensky also fired his Security Council Deputy Secretary Demchenko. According to this was interesting. According to an investigation by Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty's program called Schemes, published in November 2021, Demchenko lobbied for the signing of the agreement. So very interesting. Thank you, Catherine. It was just, these were a couple of different stories I saw, but they all kind of linked together. And it makes me wonder whether the plot is even more corrupt than we think it was. Thank you, Catherine, by the way, for the butterflies. Meaning, was there some actual corruption? Not only was it a bad deal, but actually a corrupt deal that he knows these guys got kickbacks or something else. But in any case, question from Daniel O'Neill I'll do, and then I've got to talk to you about sunflowers really quick. Thank you, Rainbow. That's kind of very cool. And hello, Daniel. Good to see you again. Any thoughts or infos on reports that Israel's Mossad have helped identify Ukrainian defectors? No, I'm not even sure what you mean. I'm not sure what you mean. You mean, what do you mean? Who defecting to whom? You mean Ukrainians defecting to Russia, Russians defecting to Ukraine? I'm confused. Obviously, I don't know about this, but I'm confused as to what the story. As always, don't feel like you got to buy another one, but you want to tell us more as to what the story actually is? Because I'm not familiar with that. If somebody else knows too, feel free to jump in. Now, I would hope that Mossad would be doing some things behind the scenes. You'd hope to help because they have been very helpful. Russian spies. Oh, got you. Oh, wait. So you mean Mossad helped to identify some of the Russians who were embedded in spying in Ukraine? That's what you're saying. Interesting. That's interesting. I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't want it known. Now, you know what's funny that you said that? Listen to this. Hi, my love. Good to see you back. It's funny you say that, Daniel. I was reading this weekend that the Russians have given warnings to a number of Jewish organizations in Russia. And I'm forgetting if it's I'm forgetting what it's called, like the Jewish Committee or one of these. I'm forgetting what it is, but some of these organizations that are funded by Israel and blah, blah, blah. I think actually that get their funding from American Jews and from Israeli Jews. And they were sort of warned that they're either going to, the Jewish agency, that was it, I think. They either were warned that they're going to be forced to register as foreign agents, or they warned them that they might be. But it was interesting to me because I was like, why would Russia be going after these guys now? And I was trying to think, did the group do something that pissed them off? Or did Israel do something that pissed off the Russians? So that's interesting. The head Jewish person had to leave Russia. That's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. But did they say what did the Jewish agency do that pissed off the Russians, if anything? Well, but remember, the rabbi of Moscow left already. The rabbi of Moscow left a couple months ago because it was too dangerous. Remember, he took his family and left. I forget, did he go? I forgot where he went, but remember, he snuck out of the country. Just seeing what other people are saying here. And then we're talking sunflowers really quick. All right, mods, keep an eye on that. Again, don't bounce somebody unless we're sure, but keep an eye on that person. Any case, I don't know, Daniel. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. They angered the Russians with the strikes on Syria. Could be that too. I mean, yeah, it could be God knows what. Yeah, God knows. You know? Well, meaning the Jews will always receive hate, Bobby. I was reading what you wrote going, it can come across both ways. Hello, Yulia. I was getting sunflowers. So listen to this. Actually, Yulia, this is a good thing for you too, because you can share this with people. So Ben Wittes, who is a guy in DC, we don't know each other. We've met before, but we don't really know each other. He is famous for running a publication called the Lawfare blog, which is a very well-known blog covering like Supreme Court decisions, things like that here in Washington, D.C. Well, Wittes, and this, you're all going to, I should have brought up the video. You're going to remember this. Ben Wittes is the guy who got together with some other people. They rented the projector and they went outside the Soviet, I still call it the Soviet embassy, the Russian embassy in Washington, D.C. And remember, they portrayed the Ukrainian flag on the side of the Russian embassy. And the Russians got so pissed off that the Russians had a big spotlight, a big searchlight, and were trying to blow out the flag by shining a light on it. So what Wittes did, he was hysterical. He took the flag, and as the Russian white dot would move over the flag, he'd move the flag away, but he did it like a mouse, like a cat creeping. So he took the flag and he went like, and the white dot would come after it, and then he'd go bloop, boop, boop, boop. And it was, I mean, the most hysterical thing you've ever seen. So that, well, he and a bunch of people planted sunflower seeds outside the embassy. They grew up into beautiful sunflowers. This weekend, someone, and we're all saying someone in quotes, someone pulled up all of the sunflowers this weekend and threw them on the ground. So Wittes is going Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Washington, D.C. time. If the weather's nice, I'm going. And he's going to have a massive sunflower planting all around the Russian embassy on Sunday. But he just had a brilliant idea. And he said, everybody out there, why not make this go international? Organize for Sunday. If you can do it as quick, well, it's a week from now. If you can do it this coming Sunday, he is doing it in Washington, D.C., July 31st, 10 a.m. on a Sunday. Go to the local Russian embassy or Russian consulate and organize people to go and to plant sunflowers there. And I would probably recommend at this point buying sunflower plants that have flowers on them, even if they're small. I mean, and honestly, let the Russians step on them. I mean, we've got the pictures of these destroyed plants. It just added to the whole theme. But it was an absolutely brilliant, and he's doing it. I mean, Wittes, like I said, is a big guy in DC, and they did this before. And as he called it, movie night, the next movie night, I believe, is August 6th. So they're going back August 6th for movie night to put the Ukrainian flag back. But I'm going to try to go Sunday morning. So just pass the word if you can to people that he's doing this. I mean, I shared it on, actually, if you follow me on Twitter, my Twitter account is Erevosis. My last name is my Twitter account. Go there and you'll see one of the last things I shared right before coming on with you guys is Wittes's tweet explaining just this. These guys are for real. They're doing it. I mean, this is not some guy who doesn't follow through. So just to the degree you can, maybe I'll do a TikTok and I'll talk about it as well. To the degree you can, just talk it up to people, and maybe we can get some people to do this. But I think it would be absolutely hilarious. Just plant sunflowers. Yep. So, all right, there we go. La la la. A pic and tagged you in it on Twitter. Okay, excellent, excellent. Let me actually. Well, hold on. I'm gonna pull up the Twitter. Oops, real quick. Ah, it's funny now that, it's funny too. Now that I'm laughing about this, I can feel like my chest opening up more. It is stress. It's very annoying. I think, of course, it's like all the rest of us. Like, you work these issues, and you don't realize, like, as an American, I've got it easy, but you still live and breathe this stuff. It can be very, it gets to you. You don't realize it gets to you, but it gets to you. In any case, hold on. I'm going to see if I can find my retweet of Wittes just to actually, because I'll show you guys really quick anyway. Actually, this is the guy. So you can see, and you can go check out. I'll show you guys in a second too. This is his Twitter. But Benjamin Wittes, Wittes, T as in Tom. Benjamin, W-I-T as in Tom, T as in Tom, E-S as in Sam, Wittes. And there you go. I think it's a brilliant idea. And like I said, this is what he did last time, and he pulled it off. He pulled it off last time. Hang on. I know he's going to have the be creative. Large numbers of potted sunflowers. Sunflowers on decks and porches. Where's the ambassador's residence? He's like trying to get all of this stuff. He is. I hadn't looked through his thread. He is absolutely organizing this worldwide. Please bring sunflower seeds of all types, gardening tools, soil, water, and snacks. Please also bring cameras. We have a large area to cover. Most of all, bring friends. For everyone asking, Operation Encirclement, it's being called. Operation Encirclement will commence at the Russian embassy on Sunday at 10 a.m. It will continue until the sunflowers fully encircle the embassy compound. Now, that's huge, because the embassy compound here in D.C. is enormous. Roughly the way, listen to this. It will continue until sunflowers fully encircle the embassy compound, roughly the way Russian propaganda imagines the West encircling it. This is great. And he's calling it, he put the hashtag plant back better. Because Biden, and I hated the name of it, but Biden's infrastructure program after the election was Build Back Better. I thought it was a stupid thing, but he's calling it Plant Back Better. I just wanted to see if I can find the photos. Yeah. See, people. Now, I think this is, I can't tell. Actually, judging by what he's wearing, these are the Russians, aren't they? That looks to me like these are the dug up. That's in front of the Russian compound. He looks like he's wearing jogging, like those sports pants. I'm going to go Russian. So I'm just trying to find the, anyway, you get the idea. Oh my God. I think it's absolutely like, but yeah, if the weather's nice, I mean, it's a little early now to know. Let me just look for DC and then I'll get off of this. But, I mean, actually the weekend at this point, the weekend should be nice. Wow. High of 83 and sunny. That means 10 a.m. would be like in the 70s. Oh my God. A tracksuit. There you go. Yeah. Like Tony Soprano. Anyway, very interesting. Very interesting. So yeah, you see why I love that stuff. We've got to do it, guys. We've got to do it. I'm not losing lots of weight. I hope I'm losing some weight, but I don't think I'm losing lots of weight. I'm not losing lots of weight either. See, I can tell because I've still got my this going on. I know the red always looks good on me. I wore the red because people, I did my videos earlier and two different people were like, "Are you okay? You look like you have white patches on your skin." And I'm like, "Oh God." So, and I was like, "I'm white." So I'm wearing my red to bring out my color so people don't think I'm sick. I don't think I'm sick. I actually did go and get the monkeypox vaccine today in DC as well, which was a very strange experience, but only because I swear to God, it's a little like this was an interesting thing. New York tells me, my friends in New York tell me it was not nearly as intrusive. DC to get the monkeypox vaccine, and it's been spreading more in the gay, mostly in the gay community right now. So whatever. I decide to get it. They've got it. You apply. When you apply, they ask you, and I mean, there was no way in hell I was going to tell the truth. I'm like, I'm not. I get it, but also it's offensive. It's offensive to me. They were asking because they were trying to, I think, figure out who should get it first, and they're asking you, have you had sex in the last 2 weeks? How many people have you had sex with in the last 2 weeks? Were they men? Were they women? Were they both? Right? I'm kind of going, do you consider yourself gay, bisexual, straight? Have you been to an environment in which you had sex with multiple people at once in the last 2 weeks? And then they asked you what you were planning. Like, were you planning on doing that in the next 2 weeks? Were you planning on having sex? How many people were you planning on having sex with? And I'm reading this going, okay, I'm getting totally creeped out. The thing is, I kind of get why they were asking, because there's limited supplies, and basically somebody who's going to, sex parties all the time is going to run a greater risk of getting it and spreading it. But this application has my name and address on it, right? And I'm going, well, then they pick me. And I will say, I might have said I was having more fun than I was on the application, because I really want to get the shot. I go to the thing. So I go to the thing to sign in, and they give you another form, and you've got to do it all again on the form. You're already chosen to get the vaccine. You're there to get the vaccine. They're once again making you write out your sexual history. And I was like, are you freaking totally? I asked some AIDS activists, and I mean, some top people in the field. So 2 top AIDS activists I know, and one of whom still is an AIDS activist, but he's also a top guy at the Yale School of Public Health or whatever, Greg Gonsalves. And both Greg and Alan said that's totally inappropriate. I mean, they said maybe at the very beginning, in terms of trying to figure out how to triage, maybe, but you better be damn careful. And you better, by the way, explain up front what the hell's happening to my information. Are you saving that information with my name attached to it? Right? Pick random numbers, fine. But it wasn't random numbers. It was my name. I had to pull out your name, your address, and how many people you planned on having sex with this week. I mean, it was like, so this, anyway, I found it very creepy. But not only creepy, because I've always been a big privacy advocate. I found it very inappropriate on the privacy level, and very inappropriate in terms of the community you're trying to reach, because anybody online filling that out who is at risk and is even vaguely closeted is not filling it out, right? I mean, you're going to put your name down and say that you've been sleeping with men. How many? I mean, like, you're not doing that if you're closeted. And by the way, if you're closeted, you may be somebody who needs it even more. Anyway, just wanted to throw, but that's also a little bit of a public health lesson for you all, because I know enough in working on public health issues over the years that you have to be sensitive to the information and how it's used. I mean, frickin' DC. I mean, I don't know what DC is doing with my information. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. You have to show ID, of course you have to show ID. No, you had to show ID. Once again, pull up they used the code, the QR code to pull up a survey. I didn't notice, but one of the other guys mentioned on my Twitter, who's here in DC, he said, did you notice how it wasn't a secure website that they pulled you up on, that you then had to repeat all of the horrific information, including with your name and address and everything. Anyway. Oh, so I CC'd the mayor and our public health person and was like, you know what? This is very creepy. What are you doing with our information? So, but I wanted the shot, and in the end, I didn't really tell them 100% of the truth. So if my information gets out there, I have plausible deniability, because I was like, That's really freaking creepy. But it should be done anonymously, right? Well, first of all, you're right. All you have to do is double blind it. If you're trying to ask the question because you're trying to determine who gets it, you make sure you go to one page, you get your information, and you get a number. And then the next page, that number puts down its sexual practices, and the twain never meet, right? So that number, maybe that number you put an email account down, maybe you have to, right? So you have some issues with that. But in any case, no, I think it's totally inappropriate. Totally inappropriate. So anyway, what else we got going, guys? I can check the questions here. We've been talking about many things. Well, no, I think it's a fascinating topic because it gets you into the issue of data privacy, public policy surrounding health issues, because one of the things in public policy overall, I always talk about this, your goal is to get things done. It's not to feel good. So I want to set up a policy that actually works. So you don't want to set up a policy that in your pie in the sky, you think, yes, we need to ask people these questions. If by asking the questions, you so stigmatize the very people you need, thank you, Iggy, that they don't come. So that like I said, like closeted people, I was offended filling it out. If you're closeted, you're not going to get your shot if you have to fill that thing out. You are not going to put your name down. What if you're married, right? You're married and you're going to put down, oh yeah, I go to orgies and some of them are gay. I mean, seriously? Thank you, Iggy, right? Or you're a member in a community that faces particular discrimination on the gay issue, and some of those exist, right? Are you gonna? I mean, it's just anyway. Thus, the idea with public policy, you've got to think through: is it even going to achieve the goal, or is it counterproductive? And then you've got to think through people's rights and safety, and whether you're saving their information. Yeah, the Greek fires. Mom is not up on the Greek fires, but I did see some video of it. Very scary. I went through Greece 10 years ago when the fires were really bad. Very scary. I mean, our trip was almost screwed up for going south, and from where the villages where we're from, because the fires were all in the area, and then finally they broke and we drove through. But I have pictures and video. It's like going through a wasteland. I mean, it was like the moon. Scared, just amazing to see, hills, but these hills are like mini mountain hills, and everything's black. Everything's black and burned. And you could still, even though it had been days, you could still smell the burning in the air, Oh, we have tons of family in Greece. Oh yeah, very much so. Europe is burning. Anyway, all right, let me look. Oops. Let me look here. I'm glad the rain stopped here, though, at least so my dog's panic that was going pretty strong slowed down. So that was good. Oh, yes. TikTok, Q&A. Thoughts on Draghi in Italy resigning and how the pro-Russian M5S party made that happen. Wow. I am not up on this at all. Lindsay, I mean, I knew that Draghi had talked about resigning before and all of that, but I don't know the details of it, and I had no idea that there was a pro-Russian party involved in it. That's kind of scary. Lovely. No, did not know that. When Ukraine has the advantage of a counterattack, how big of a counterattack do you think it'll be? Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, one of the fears that some of the Western experts had was just that, like, what ability will Ukraine really have to counterattack? Meaning they're able to really soften up the Russians nicely. But one of the things you got to worry about counterattacks is now it's the Russians who are dug in, right? The party that's dug in, it is always to the advantage of the defender. So the defender who's able to dig in and hide, and the other guys have to come through and clear every building, everything. That makes it harder for the Ukrainians. So, I don't know. I don't know how big it's going to be. I mean, I get the sense, whether it's true or not, thank you, Grandma, But I get the sense that the Ukrainians really want to get Kherson back. And I think they want to do it. It is strategically important, but they also want to do it for morale reasons, that they really want to, want to push the Russians out of there to really develop some momentum and really freak the Russians out. So I don't know, but it's gonna, and the thing is, it's gonna be bloody and costly if they do, but we'll see, because they're also blowing up the Russians and making it harder and harder for the Russians to defend themselves. So I don't know. Elise, it's totally inappropriate to document that stuff on a form with personal identifying information. Agree. Research Review Board experience here. I'm going to weigh in a little bit more after we're done on Twitter, because some people were kind of disagreeing. And I was like, look, I get the need to triage, but you are still a government agency, not to open this issue up again. You're a government agency asking very, very specific information that is potentially discriminatory information about people. You're asking about their sex life, for starters, which just government shouldn't have that information, again, unless it's blind and it's in a study or something. But this stuff, and frankly, they never told us how the information was going to be used. I mean, No, I mean, Royson, we know why why the gay community is getting it. That's not really the issue, but it is at the very least, they need to explain, what are they doing with this information that is obviously highly charged information? Bingo. What are they doing with it? How are they protecting it? Blah, blah, blah. I didn't see a damn thing that said that. And that pisses me off. Exactly. Your physician asks these questions. This is the government asking these questions. And my, American side kicks in on that aspect. It's a little creepy to have the government, in DC too, where the government's a little somewhat incompetent at times. We got the wrong Streamlabs up. This is not. Oh, that's why you said this is the best watch party. Okay. Still got my, still had my thing up for the watch party. That was what it was. I had turned that one on when we did the watch party. Hang on. It's off now. There we go. And the other one is live. All right. I saw somebody making fun of it, and I wasn't sure why. They said, boy, this is the best watch party we've had. And I was like, who's saying that? What else here? Lots of straight people getting monkeypox. Oh, that's interesting. They're behind on the data. That's interesting. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay. The counteroffensive will not use the troops holding the line. Yeah. Reznikov said today that they were in talks to get F-16s. I saw that, sometime next year, maybe. What worries me, I also saw the talks of Slovakia is talking about providing Ukraine MiG-29 fighters. And I then read another story that said contingent on Slovakia getting replacement planes in exchange for those MiGs, which means the other country, it's the same BS we already had happen with Poland, where Poland was going to give the MiGs and the replacement. So I'm not real confident when I see talks. Talks to me means I go, hey, America, give me the damn planes. America goes, no. And I go, come on, let's talk about it. Okay, we'll talk about it. Those are talks. It doesn't mean they're going anywhere. And I think with this administration, I think it's going to be a cold day in hell before we provide F-16s to the Ukrainians. Let's see. Stuffed peppers. Love the stuffed peppers. Let's see what happens. But I think it's a cold day in hell before that happens. What else? I will look here at another. I'm yawning at you all. Study. Have you stopped the 2 p.m. live? I have not, but I was not doing them on the weekend. I took the weekend off to help my voice a little bit, to help my psyche a bit, and to spend a little time working on the Discord that we want to launch soon. So that was why I took the weekend off. But we are back to doing the weekends, 2 p.m. lives on the weekend. Yes, 2 p.m. New York City time, of course. But yes, we'll be doing it next weekend. and hopefully having my Ukrainian friend who's been involved with some of another Ukrainian friend doing some of the humanitarian stuff, if he's comfortable, Marco. Why is Biden bit piecing? That's a cute way of putting it. Bit piecing meaning bit by bit by bit. These weapons, that's not helping them. They need these weapons now because Biden is afraid of pissing off Vladimir Putin. I don't know. You know, it's very frustrating. Oh, sorry, Inspired Woman, thank you. I actually have the skillet put away because I have a 10-inch, but I've always needed a 12-inch. So I don't have it sitting out to use because I save it for my, you beat me. It came in right after I made my meatballs. I needed to make like a big thing of meatballs, and I kind of had to squeeze them into 2 pans. I might have been able to do 1 with that skillet. So that's the kind of stuff I use it for, but it's not going to be used for a while because well, who knows? It may be used soon. It just depends what I'm making. But yeah, I use the smaller one unless I need the bigger one, but so there you go. But thank you. It's in the, and I will say this, totally off topic. That little silicone thing I've been wanting to get forever, the handle that goes on it, for years now. I've had my Lodge, my smaller Lodge skillet, never got the silicone thing because I saw mixed reviews. It's a joy. It's an absolute joy. The little silicone handle that goes on the end of the skillet. Oh my God. It's been amazing. Absolutely perfect. So I actually took it off and put it on my smaller one that's on the stove, like for daily use. It's been great. Well, that's it. I've got a 10 that I use all the time, but I need a 12 sometimes, and I've not had a 12. And my stovetop 12 is the biggest I can do. I've got electric, but in any case, the Lodges are great. I swear by the Lodges. They're affordable and they're really good. My summer is going to be visiting Ma in Chicago again. Not doing anything. I've got to plan something vacation-wise, though. Did I redo the recipe? What recipe is that? Oh, the meatballs? No, I made it work. I added more meat, and I added more meat in general to it. I basically increased by 50% the recipe, and then it wasn't too bad. It was a little salty, but then I was making these Neapolitan meatballs, but I added a little too much salt because they pretty much had enough salt from the cheese and everything. But once I 50% increased the recipe, they're good. So I gave some to a neighbor. I've now got them frozen in little packets in my freezer, as Mom does. So now whenever I make spaghetti, I can bring out my 3 or 4 meatballs, warm them in the sauce, and they're fabu. But they're good. It's a good recipe. It's different though because it's a recipe that uses pork, ground pork, and I've had recipes like that before, but it's not something we do. I never make meatballs with pork, so it's a very interesting difference. I might cut back on it. For my taste, I might do 25% pork. Hard to say. I mean, we're already hitting into I am Greek. We're already hitting into our hanging out period now anyway. So let's shift into talking food. Well, you know what? Let me do the recap first, and then we'll chat food. But yes, my family is Greek. We are Greek. So the Ukrainian grain exports to begin on July 27th. Russia is defending its attack on the port of Odessa, claiming it wouldn't affect grain exports. Russia's lying. Overall, Russia has made almost no advance in the past month. Ukrainians have made small but steady advances in the south, and they're doing real damage. First, they hit the ammunition depots, then command and control, and now bridges. Kherson, after losing control over most of the region in the war's first weeks, Ukrainian troops now have liberated 44 towns and villages. Oops, got you upside down. Villages along the border regions, about 15% of the territory. All 3 bridges controlled by Russia leading into the occupied city of Kherson have been damaged over the past week. UK intelligence, British intelligence says that Russian commanders now face a dilemma to either resource their own offensive in Ukraine's east or bolster the defense in the west. In other words, the Ukrainians have made it confusing for them because the Ukrainians have opened up now a second front, and the Russians are having to split their efforts, which is not helpful for the Russians. There is alarm in Russian nationalist information space on social media over the pace of Russian operations slowing in the face of the HIMARS rocket strikes. What else I got here? That was a really long discussion, but that's the gist of it. The HIMARS are hitting really well and possibly doing irreparable, devastating, and potentially irreversible impact on the Russian offensive for the future. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, I didn't mention this one, is in the Republic of Congo on a 4-day trip, shoring up African support for the war. In Cairo, he laid out the Kremlin's war goals for the invasion, saying Moscow is determined to topple Zelensky's government. Before the Arab League summit envoys, Lavrov said Moscow, quote, will certainly help Ukrainian people to get rid of the regime, which is absolutely anti-people and anti-historical. I love how the Russians just do not talk like normal human beings. It is anti-people and anti-historical. I told you I compare it to Saddam Hussein. Whenever he would call us, you are a jackass dog with wings, and you're like going, that sounds nice, And they would always use like animal illusions that really work in the Arab world, and in the Western world, you're like, okay, I like dogs. You call me a dog. I love dogs. So yes, absolutely anti-people and anti-historical. Well, we can't have that in our backyard, can we? The Ukrainians say the HIMARS missile systems have destroyed 50 Russian ammunition depots in Ukraine. Russian state energy giant Gazprom is is only reopening its pipeline up to about 20% capacity. Germany has begun sending Gepard self-propelled guns to Ukraine. Poland is sending PT-91 Twardý tanks to Ukraine as well. Human Rights Watch says Russia is torturing, abducting civilians in occupied areas of Kherson and Zaporizhia. Two former ministers of the Ukrainian government back in 2010 are being charged with treason, and Zelensky fired his Security Council deputy secretary based on the same issue revolving around giving Russia rights to the Sevastopol city port for 25 years in Crimea. Voila. And there we go. All right, back to cooking. And as always, I'll hang out for a few minutes. I was feeling better towards the end. I can tell like I've got to figure out how to, maybe I need to inject more humor in my thing. I can tell like it was kind of calming down a little. Tomato plants are dropping fresh tomatoes to the tune of 10 a day. Oh my God. I'd freeze them. Or just make a sauce and freeze them. I did get the tomato plant, my little tomato plant. I've got one that I did make some bread lately. I'm less than pleased with it because I didn't let it rise enough. So it's okay, but it's heavier than usual. So it's a sourdough, but it's a bit heavy. It's usable. I'm not going to throw it out. It's usable. I don't want to waste the flour, but I'm a little disappointed because I should have trusted my gut, and my gut told me it wasn't big enough. But I've got a tomato plant that gives off the little yellow cherry tomatoes, and it's getting right up to speed. And we've got some on the roof of our building that people forget to cull. So if you ever go up there, there's extra tomatoes, little ones. So I went and grabbed like 15 of them because the plant was dying. So, oh well. What do you do? My favorite dessert. My favorite dessert is a tough one. It's always going to be chocolate. Boy. Usually ice cream and brownies is good. It used to be ice cream and brownies growing up, but it's going to be a warm, gooey chocolate dessert like a moelleux, volcano cake, whatever we call it here, right? But a really good one. Exactly. A real like lava cake, whatever. They're called moelleux in French. that kind of a cake makes me very happy because they're super chocolatey. The part that's cooked is super chocolatey. The part that's uncooked, well, it depends. It can be uncooked. It also can be, some of the recipes are as simple as grabbing pieces of chocolate and freezing them and literally putting a chunk of chocolate bar in the middle so that it cooks and it turns into lava. It's, oh boy, someone's asking me to spell moelleux. Oh shit. TikTok, don't do it. Uh-oh, I may have wiped out TikTok. Shit. I was trying to scroll up and it got rid of it. Am I frozen or can you guys hear me on TikTok? Have I frozen? Not you guys. I know I'm there with you guys. We're good? Okay, good. Thank God. I thought it froze. Okay, I was going to show you. So the, here we go. Oh God, I'm going to try to spell moelleux correctly. Oh boy. I am going to guess that this is correct. It's close. It's close. It's close. Help me here, Eric, on spelling moelleux. I'm close. I don't know if that's accurate, though. It's close. No, I mean, but what I wrote from moelleux, that's more or less, or is it what? Or is it Moelleux, maybe? I'm going to look M-O-E. I think it's the U, though. Oh, it's M-O-E. Sorry, Moelleux. Okay, there's no U at the beginning. Moell. Yeah, moelleux. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Greek dessert with the phyllo crust and the gooey custard is galaktobouriko, but it can be something else as well. It's, yeah, moelleux. Well, but I added a U with the moi. I got confused there. I always forget whether there's an, M-O-E, or not, but I see not. Moelleux. But the galaktobouriko has that. The other really nice one that I've only had once was bugatsa. And bugatsa also can have like the crust and the goo. And oh my God, I had that in Greece, I think. And oh my God. Because galaktobouriko can be good. It can also be blah. It depends how good the cream is. It can be blah, and this one that I had was like warm. Now, the nice thing we would do when we're in Greece, we were at a big hotel in Athens 10 years ago now, when my dad was around and mom could still travel. Mom couldn't travel now. But we go to the hotel and mom would go, and mom and dad had stayed there 5 years before, I don't know, 10 years before. And the manager of they had a very nice like breakfast, like huge cafeteria breakfast, but really nice Greek style. The good Greek, yogurt, the good honey, beautiful nuts to put on them because the Greeks will have that for breakfast. Oh my God. And the guy would get mom's stuff from the kitchen. So with us the first day, mom had asked and said, hey, is there any chance you've got any galaktobouriko? And he said, oh, it's a dessert, but you could also kind of serve it for breakfast. And he said, oh, we typically make that tomorrow. We don't make it today. Are you going to be here tomorrow? And she said, well, tomorrow, no, but we're coming back in a week. He goes, when you come back in a week, ask me. So we come back in the week. And this time I go up to ask the guy. And I said, excuse me, I'm in Greek. I'm like, I'm the American with my mom who's Greek. And she had asked you about the galaktobouriko. He goes, oh, we got it. He goes, we don't have much left. We've only got like one plate. He goes, I'm going to give it to you and don't tell anybody where you got it from. So the guy goes to the kitchen, but Greece, Greece can be very difficult sometimes, I find. It's Italy. I don't know about living there, but the Italians are much more easygoing with me. I speak Italian too. The Greeks, it can be difficult, but you get some Greeks that are just going out of their way like this guy. And it was just lovely. Literally going into the kitchen and just getting food that isn't for everybody else, but he's bringing it out for my mom because mom asked and he loved my mom. It's just that kind of stuff I love. But yeah, Geopolitical, when it's good, it's great. But I've never made it and had it be great. You know, the Bugazza though. Oh, I have to try. I have to try looking for recipes that raise it to a great, you know, portocalada. I've not had that. What is it though? Portocalata. I don't know what it is. Yeah. I mean, I know because portocalada means orange, so I'm assuming it's an orange dish, but I don't know what it is. Armenian pastries, no, and it's funny you say that because I walked by. There's an Armenian pastry shop that opened up nearby in the last year. I didn't realize because of COVID, and I walked by the other day. It's a little coffee shop. I walked in, but you know, there weren't really too many pastries, and the person behind the counter didn't look Armenian. Because I kind of wanted somebody I could talk to and learn what's what, you know, rather than an American. But nonetheless, but I'd be very interested in trying something with oranges. That was my guess because portocolata, like portocali, is an orange. And portocalada, as I recall, is orange juice, I believe. But anyway, portocalata. I'll have to Google it and see. I don't know what it is. Well, let me Google. I'm going to Google right now as we're talking. Portocalopita. Portocalopita. Oh. With phyllo? Really? Nutritional syrup, phyllo. Think of the spinach or the creamy custard in Bugazza. Delicious fillings wrapped in phyllo. But what's the filling? I kind of hate recipes. God, I hate these recipes. I hate recipes that feel the need. It's the style. They must speak to you for 20 pages before they get to the damn recipe. And I'm always like, just show me the damn recipe. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I want the experiments, but usually I want to know what the damn recipe is. Let me see here. So phyllo. Phyllo sheets, eggs, sugar, oranges, yogurt, vanilla, powder, orange skin, baking pan, syrup. Very interesting. Interesting. Yeah, this must be what you're talking about. I really don't know it. I've not had it before. It looks like a cake, though, and there's nothing cakey in here. Is there flour? No. Water, sugar, orange juice, phyllo, eggs, sugar, oranges, yogurt. Maybe that stuff makes kind of a mix that goes in the middle. Open up your phyllo sheets, scrunch them up, starting from the short side. After scrunching a sheet, place it on a baking pan. Continue till you've used entire pack of phyllo. Bake in the middle and bottom racks. After 10 minutes have passed, fill each phyllo sheet, flip it over, bake again. Keep the oven door open. Once completely dried, use your hands to crumble them into small pieces. In a large mixing bowl, add the orange zest. Begin to incorporate your dried out and tore phyllo into the cake batter. After you pour the mixture into a greased baking pan. Okay, that's very interesting. I don't know that. Okay, very interesting. Okay. Yeah, that could be. Well, because I'm kind of like going, that's interesting. Thank you, Marcy. Well, see, orange chocolate. Now you're starting to get more towards my area. That's like when I was in France. Oh my God, when I was living in France, and I went to the pâtisserie, and a friend of mine, Ismet, always liked her croissant aux amandes, which were almond croissant. It has almond paste on the inside, usually almonds as well. And I had never really eaten them before. And I finally tried one because I always thought that sounded kind of gross. Almond paste. I like almonds, but I tried one once warm and was like, oh my God, this is to die for. And I said, the only thing that could make this better would be chocolate. And my French friends go, oh, they make them that way. So every time I'd go by the pâtisserie, finally, once they had it, and I was like, oh, you have a pain au chocolat aux amandes. And she's like, oui. I said, oh my God. Oh God. The chocolate with the almond paste. Oh my God. With just like the croissant layering of, amazing. Absolutely amazing. And they were huge though. I just remember it being huge. Like I bought it for a picnic. Huge. It was this monstrosity that kind of with slices in it or something. Oh, yeah. Croissant aux amandes de chocolat. Oh, yeah. I need to learn to make those. The problem is it's the dough. I wish we could buy good croissant dough here. Like we can buy phyllo dough. We don't have to make it. Orange chocolate. That is interesting. I've not had orange chocolate. I'm sure it would be good. Comme ça se prête, ouais. Je les mange seulement. It's not terribly difficult. Sienna, it's not terribly difficult. C'est pas trop difficile quand même. It's actually the recipe I saw was very easy. Just to give you an example here, I will give you the example recipe I was looking at. This doesn't mean it's the best recipe, but here, I'll share it with all of you. This does not mean I'm not vouching for this particular recipe, but this is the recipe that I found that was describing the Greek dish that's orange phyllo dough. But it's interesting because basically you take the phyllo and you kind of crunch it up and you cook it in the oven like a piece of paper that's been scrunched. You take it out, you make this batter, and then you crunch the dried out phyllo in, you fold it into the batter, and then put the batter into the pan. And I guess the phyllo adds a little more substance. You bake it, and afterwards you put a sauce on top. I will warn you, Sienna, that the Greeks are notorious for pouring a sugar sauce on top that usually could kill you. like with baklava, we do that. And with baklava, my mom and I probably put, if we put any of the sauce, maybe we put 25%. Because the full amount will kill you. It's like, they like their sugar, those Mediterraneans. Let me just put it that way. Ooey gooey, pure sugar makes them, bleh. So, but that's at least the idea. If that's what I'm thinking, the idea might have been. If looking at the picture, if it says, si ça te dit quelque chose, just looking at the photo. If it is, then I would look around for other recipes like that, and I would look for one that has a lot of people weighing in and saying it's really good. Now, there's one woman in particular. Oh God, who is she? I would recommend. She's somebody we like. Dimitra. Hold on. Dimitra, I think that's her. Dimitra's Greek cooking. Portokalopita. Does she have one? She does. Okay. This woman, people swear by this woman. Okay. This is the recipe you want. People swear by this woman's. Sorry, all of you over here. This is the recipe by a woman that a lot of the Greek ladies swear by. It's still the Greek ladies and me who cook a Greek. But that would be the recipe I would try. Yeah. There's no ratings, but it's her. She's a fabulous cook. Yep. Orange marmalade, blah, blah, blah. Oranges, vanilla, cardamom. Yep. There you go. And I would say in general, her website is dimitrasdishes.com. So I'll try to at least write that out for you guys. But it's dimitrasdishes.com. Dimitra's Dishes.com. That should be it. There you go. That's her website. She's very good. Very good. Even mom's gone through her recipes, and even mom likes her recipes when she pulls them up. So, yeah, I would highly recommend her in general if you're looking at Greek recipes, because she's good. But orange and chocolate and coffee, that's very interesting. Grand Marnier Tia Maria coffee with whipped cream. Oh, that's funny. Huh. See, I'm not such a Greek dessert guy. I like my American desserts. Or French chocolate, gooey chocolate, unctuous. The word unctuous means a lot to me. Yeah, check it out. Like I said, because she's very good overall. That is a good place to start for Greek recipes, I would say. I mean, I've got good ones too, moms, but that's still a good place to start. Oh, that's funny. You know her, Elise. Yeah. The dishes, chicken and potatoes roasted in lemon sauce. Huh. That's neat. I'll have to look and see, because actually, also chicken and potatoes, not easy to make. Greek chicken, not easy, because you have to cook it. You're trying to cook it in a way that the potatoes soak up the flavor from the chicken and the lemon and the oil, and they usually don't. They usually are like dry potatoes. They just don't. And I was at a function once at the Greek embassy, and oh my God, here in DC, they had some chef, and the potatoes, the potatoes, first of all, they turn this color when they're done the right way. They just become, I don't know, yellow, brown, orange. You know what I mean? That dark flavor, because they've absorbed everything, and they taste like chicken and lemon, and oh my God, to die. But very hard to replicate. Thank you, Claire, for the paper cranes. I just have a very hard time replicating it. Cinnamon to spaghetti sauce. You might be thinking pasticcio. Probably pasticcio. If it's, I mean, with lack of any more context, I'm going to go with pasticcio. So it's like pasticcio. You could Google those recipes. In the UK, we do a hot chocolate sponge cake with a velvet chocolate sauce, which pulls out when you produce doing it. That sounds really good. Hot chocolate sponge cake with velvet chocolate sauce? Okay, that works for me. I like pistachios a lot. We don't use them a lot, but I like them. Like Greeks make baklava with walnuts. Arabs do it with pistachios that are way better. So I'll typically make my baklava. I'll use half pistachios and half walnuts, and they're a very nice combination. Pastelitos de guayaba. I think so. Yeah, is that the guayaba with like cream cheese or something with it? If it's with cream cheese, they're very good. I don't know where I had it, either in Latin America, probably, or Miami. Certainly not up here, but they were very good. Yeah, I just can't get on the Greek side. The potatoes to really suck up the juice appropriately can be hard. In Bosnia, we do baklava with walnuts too. Oh, that's interesting. But you're close to us, so maybe you got it that way. I don't know. Whereas the Arabs, try it with half pistachio. If you like pistachios, it's really good. I mean, my mom was kind of like, the old ladies with changing the recipe, but it's really good. So they thought it was weird that I did it, but to me it was delicious. Because like walnuts are okay. Walnuts are their own heavy kind of flavor. But I find pistachios, the richness and the flavor of them, ooh, God. Viples are great. I don't think I'm ever going to succeed at making a viple. I do love them. My grandmother was very good at them. The Armenians make them with walnuts as well. Interesting. Huh. But viples are very good, but it's this dough that comes in a long thing, and you kind of have to wind it around 2 forks before it goes in the or as it drops in the oil bath, because it cooks wound up. It's I don't even know. And then sort of like a honey, cinnamon, and you eat it by breaking off. It's like a tweel kind of thing. And you eat it by breaking off the outside of the wheel. And oh my God, good viples. Oh, very, but again, hard to find them good. I buy them at the church sales, and they're usually old and, mushy and blah, and, hard to find good ones. See, this is what I wish I was in New York for. New York was just like the city where I could find everything, Best Greek restaurants of my life I found in New York, not in Chicago. If your GMA is from Kosice, Slovakia, you must be talking to somebody else. I don't know what that is. Kifli is in what language? Don't know. Not for us that I can think of. Kifli or Kifli. Don't know. Profiteroles can be very good. They can be a little boring too. Like if there's just with, I don't really love them filled with cream. The quality of the chocolate matters hugely with profiteroles. If it's ice cream, the quality of the ice cream matters hugely, Oh, I would love that, Nick. Where are you anyway? Where are you? Anybody who went to school for baking, I'm not going to say no. Oh, Rhode Island. Okay. I don't ever get up there. Do you ever get down to DC? And Pereira sounds Portuguese or Brazilian. I'm gonna go with spelled like that. I mean, my friend Patricia Pereira, but that's Argentine because it's Pereira, not Pereira. Texas, yeah. Stay out of Texas. Got news for you, buddy. Ain't a lot of people hankering to go to Texas nowadays. So you have your fun down there. Belgian chocolate with brandy cream filling profiterole. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. They introduced baking as a subject at school the year after you chose graphic design. See, I would have loved graphic design in school. We did not have it. And I would have loved baking, which we also did not have. Now, I'm jealous of kids today. The subjects they get to do in school, I would have dreamed to do. I mean, that would have been it. I would have done baking, like gourmet baking, and anything dealing with computers would have been it. I'd be in heaven. Oh, you're Portuguese. There you go. Okay. Oh my. Oops. What do we got? 47. Oh, we are doing our little. All right. You're making me go late again, guys. I'm not going to go too much later here. Oh, funny. But yeah, I've got all of Mom's recipes and a lot of the other relatives' recipes, and I keep them in they're in my Dropbox and my notes, my Apple Notes, so I can share it. Like my nephew has access to that folder in Dropbox and my notes, so they can sort of get the recipes. Melt chocolate and mix stuff in it. Frankincense, myrrh, spruce, needle powder. Whoosh. That sounds heavy. Question was for me. I didn't see what question was for me. Oh, Heberidian. You're saying, is that for me? Baker on TikTok. Oh, I know. We've been actually, mom has for years now because mom has her recipes. I mean, we've got them in the Greek cookbooks. We've got them in, like all the different things. But mom, I have been trying to, because mom still has the file box of recipe cards that she did on 3x5 cards or 3x5, I think, whatever they are, cards. And I have for the longest time tried to get her to go through there. And I'm like, Mom, just pick out your favorites. But mom being mom, she's picked them out. She's afraid they're not readable. So then she writes them out again by hand. I'm like, Mom, I can read your handwriting. Just pick them out. I want you to pick them out before you're dead. Like it's not rocket science. So anyway, we are trying to have mom finish her 5-year mission to boldly go where no mom has gone before, is to get the recipes picked. But I already have, where are my recipes here? I'm already, I'm in the wrong folder. That's why. Hold on. All right. Recipes. Mom's recipes. Yeah, I mean, I've got a bazillion. I mean, it drives me a little. Well, of course, now this, mind you, is classic for a mom recipe because the recipe's at the top and then mom does like her version at the bottom, which, it's just, and of course it's written just like that, where it's kind of like, you can read it, but it's mom's version at the bottom. And that means Mrs. D's recipe. And you can pretty much, I mean, close up like here, I can make sense. Careful with extra added flour, dough thickens as it relaxes. But those are good. Paximavia, oh my God, those are good. Very good. Again, a classic mom recipe. Baklava. Well, this is the church. This is from one of the very good church cookbooks that I got in the 1970s. So first you have like baklava and you got the recipe. Then you zoom in and you see mom's recipe is the little square in the corner. Right? It's the big recipe and then the mom recipe right there. I'll show you guys too. We've got the big recipe and then mom's changes are the little square here. And then through the recipe, she also makes changes to the recipe itself. 4 cups, 2 3/4 cups. So there's a lot of you've got to know how to read mom's recipes, because she's got the originals, but then she kind of went through them. Crema caramel. Crema caramel is creme caramel, flan, basically. But again, the mom version, which is the cookbook version, and then mom edited it. And again, I can read this, but it just makes me laugh because it's such a mom recipe. And mom would try to rewrite that, and I'd be like, "You're nuts! I'm putting that in the book just like that. I'm not rewriting that. Like that's fabulous, And if you can figure it out, you deserve to make crema caramel." But yeah, of course, then she changed the recipe too. Actually, she's cracking me up. I'm looking at this recipe now. So the recipe went from like 4 eggs to 8 eggs to 10 eggs to 12 eggs. 1 quart to 1 quart, 1 cup. I mean, it's like I just don't quite know how it changed. Maybe it's for a larger size or something. I just don't quite understand what changed. Then again, it's not like it's the end of the world. Yeah. Anyway, like I said, I know mom's recipes well enough that I can do it, but it's very funny. She may have been doubling it, although typically you wouldn't be doubling it because it's already something you would cook in a maybe she did double it. You would cook it in a bunt dish, basically, is what we cook it in. A bunt dish, so that it kind of comes out and has a little shape or whatever in it. But typically it would be a cake pan that has a hole in the middle. You know, I don't do it in you. I would not use the cheesecake pan. You want a solid pan because you want to pour the sugar in it first and all that kind of stuff. Good recipe. Meet mom. I'm always afraid of people meeting mom just because of the evil people that are out there, like the Russians, you know. Otherwise it would be possible. But I'm not there yet. But anyway. All right, yeah, let's call it quits, guys. It's getting to be on the hour, and as we said, my voice is not great, but slightly better. Let's not screw it up. So, all right, let's tomorrow we'll do the same time as always. I love you. I know I owe mom a call. I do owe mom a call. Mom says, if it weren't for Amazon, you and I would never talk, because mom needs stuff, but she doesn't quite know how to order it on Amazon. So she calls me and I order it for her with her credit card on my system, but she kind of goes through it with me of what she needs. So like every 3 days we have a phone call. But it's true. She goes, if it weren't for Amazon, I'd never speak to you. And I'm like, all right, I'll call you. It was a very Greek mother thing to say. So, all right, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Same thing, 6 p.m. Eastern time, US. All right. Sayonara. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks the mods, as always. Oh, boy. See, I'm already getting tired again. All right. And hopefully my shot, my monkeypox, I'm not all monkeypox tomorrow for my vaccine. We shall see. All right. Oh, yeah, very Ukrainian. I'm sure it's a very mom, yeah. All right. Oh, and Ashley, thank you.